By the bell. Just in time.
Right on time.
You ready to go now?
4:45. There you are. Thank God you gotta go to watch.
Seeing as it's 4:45, we call the January Park and Rec meeting to order. Any changes to the agenda? Look for motion to adopt the agenda.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, consider request for Cindy Bungart to transfer a portion of land from River Trail Park to her parcel. Chad?
Bob, number 2.
Public.
Oh, public input, I'm sorry. The public input? Okay, we go to 3 then. Consider request for Cindy Bungart.
Okay. So if you read through my memo, you probably are on the understanding or have read some of the Planning Commission minutes and agenda items. Cindy has purchased a property at 813 West Wolf River Avenue, which is in between the waters and Lung Coulee there, and has some plans for some renovations. But to do that, the first big hurdle is to kind of bring it up out of the floodplain. And if you read through my memo, I kind of explained what some of the pieces are for doing that. 2 pieces of those puzzle would be coming to the Parks and Rec Committee tonight. Number 1 is to talk about a portion of land that it kind of sticks into the current property line, and I'll kind of show you that in a little bit. But then number 2 would be to consider requesting a modification to the current easement to the back of the property. Cindy, do you want to bring something up or kind of like,
Actually, a couple of things that I really wanted to know.
if you want to come up to the microphone, please. Yep.
Okay. I hope you can hear me through this mask. I know it's Fred's favorite.
You can take it off while you're talking.
Am I okay to do that? Okay. I don't want to make anyone uncomfortable.
Sounds better now.
Okay, so there's a couple of things. The first thing being the 5-foot parcel there. And we talked about that a little bit at Planning Commission, but it really should have been here. Does everybody know Bob Ryder from Carroll Land Survey? He's like the survey god. He knows everything and has always done all of the surveying stuff. There was this 5-foot piece that is along here that now the city owns. The end of that was always a part of my parcel, but somehow when between 1982 and now it got missed somewhere. So it got added to the CSM of the city. Now, Bob said I can spend about 3 to 5 days going back through every file, but if you look at it, it really was supposed to be all part of your parcel. I'm cleaning that up because that whole 5 feet all the way back was supposed to be part of my parcel. And somehow it ended up in a wrong area or something. So it's been sitting there kind of in no man's land because it wasn't on my legal, it was on a part of my legal description, but it wasn't on my certified survey map. And so then when they surveyed that that stuff back there from the city, because that was not added to my parcel the right way, somebody somewhere along the lines did something wrong. The city got that 5 feet from like the back few feet of my building. I don't know, Chad, we didn't have a measurement on that, did we? So it takes in like the back corner and it goes like the lot line goes right to my building.
I have pictures.
Yeah.
Are you talking
So,
about
yep,
this one
right there. So that's that 5 feet that always was part of this parcel and got missed in a legal description somewhere, somehow, we're not sure where. So that's the piece that I'm looking at from those 2 stakes to the river so that I can get 6 feet right there for bringing it out of the floodplain all the way around. Then the second issue is from the back of my building to the bank of the water, there is only 13 feet. Now that first 5 feet is grass, and that's where we would need to do some rewording of the of the easement, because the easement actually says 15 feet, the northernmost 15 feet following the meander line, which actually brings that 15 feet into my building. So because of however they did that back in, I think it was recorded in 1980 something. Oh, that one was in 1992. They did 15 feet all the way along that river walk from the waters and never took into consideration that there isn't even 15 feet there. So if I can get that reworded, I talked to the city because the planning commission said there's a pretty good chance that they need 15 feet for keeping that clear. And they don't. The machine that they run down there for removal and all that is actually 6 feet wide. And the path right there is about 6 feet wide. The only thing that grass is being used for is people are letting their dogs make a mess there. So if every piece of the puzzle goes correctly, the retaining wall along the back would follow right along where that is. So there wouldn't be a strip of grass for the city to maintain there or for the dogs to make a mess on. That 5 feet would be brought up higher with a retaining wall to get my building out of the floodplain to be able to get permits to do more improvements there.
The grass portion will go to you.
Yep. Well, it is mine anyhow.
Oh.
It just wouldn't be part of the easement. I own the whole land back there. The city just has an easement, but the easement wording says 15 feet, and there's not even 15 feet back there. So those are my two issues. So
Not unless they figure 15 feet from the, say, high water mark or from the
no,
bank
it's from the meander
from the-
line.
over to the building.
Yep, it's from the meander line.
So in essence, right now, the easement calls for pretty much that entire section.
Oh yeah, and into my building.
Yep.
Yeah.
The only problem is with the DNR. Right.
Well, let's take.
I already have
the-
DNR approval.
Let's talk about the first one first.
You have DNR approval?
Yep.
Yeah, no problem, Bob.
What's that?
She says she has DNR approval.
In writing?
We contacted the
Yep.
DNR and the
Yep,
DNR did
DNR 's
confirm.
with me on it. They're the ones that suggested I do it this way.
What'd you say, Chad?
So let's take the first issue or the first challenge right here is this jog right here that Cindy's saying that was inadvertently, put on the city's parcel and taking off of the 813 parcel. I don't have any paperwork. Cindy said, could Bob Ryder go back in time and figure out where this happened? I don't have any indication of why or how this happened. The only thing I do have, and I put it in your packet, was that the city's property, which is all in green, the part of the park, is tied to that Land Water Conservation Fund grant. And that was in, I don't remember when the grant was, but I have tied to the grant, I've got information here that in 1990, I believe 1992, there was an agreement signed with the city and the DNR. And basically, it was to put in the deed that the city cannot, or the city agrees not to sell, lease, assign, mortgage that premises in green right there without approval from the secretaries of the Department of Natural Resources and the Department of Interior. So if we would want to do anything with separating that parcel and, squaring off Cindy's property, the city would have to petition with the secretaries of the Department of Natural Resources and the Department of Interior to modify this agreement. So, not saying it's impossible, but that's.
So that's
big-
two
the jump.
more meetings from the state, right?
Yep. So,
It'd be the federal government and the state.
Department of Interior, so it doesn't say if that's federal or state, it just says Department
Yes,
of Interior.
it is.
That's, yeah.
The federal government?
That'd be federal government.
I'll
I
have to
would
look into
think
that
in
more.
Interior, it's federal government.
And is there, I mean, is there a way that we can talk to Earl? And that's a good question, maybe for Earl. If it's not being sold or mortgaged or exchanged, if it's to clean up a survey, is there any way around both of those meetings? Or, I mean, at this point, if I have 2 more meetings to go through what I've gone through already to try to get stuff, I mean, it's a chance that I'm willing to take. Otherwise, right now, all I can do is get a building permit for 53,000 to do what I want and put my unit in the inside. Then the rest of it still looks like kind of crappy down there.
The one word in there that's kind of a sticker is a sign.
A sign.
That's the one that says you can't do anything. A sign. The other ones you could work around, but a sign it sounds like the key word in that whole phrase.
Okay.
Not being a legal lawyer, I would have to agree
Yeah,
with Bob's, opinion.
I
with
don't
that.
know either. I'm just thinking that's the word that's going to be the whole sticker and the whole thing is the sign.
Well, when you assign a property, it's assigned for a purpose.
I know, and that's what they don't want
And
us
that's
to
where
do.
maybe Earl can clarify that for you guys.
That's got to be a legal question or something that you'd have to talk to the Department of Natural Resources and Interior, I guess.
A sign is still a sale.
I'm not sure a
Retrospect.
sign
Yep.
would be.
And then it says right in there, we can't do it without talking to the other 2
Right.
entities. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
Does easement mean the same as a sign?
No.
There's no easement in there though.
Doesn't talk about
It
easement.
doesn't talk about easement, just says lease, sell, or a sign, or mortgage. Mortgage
Could
would be
we
selling.
grant her an easement for that little piece? Is that another legal way around it?
can you
I can
build
ask
on, can you
Earl.
build on an easement?
With approval.
We've built the trail on an easement. Mhm. That would have to be more research and probably talk to Earl to see what he thinks legally.
I would think you'd have to go would have to go to Earl, I would think, to get more clarification on
do that, yep.
exactly what that means.
Yep.
Yeah, 'cause there's no doubt that something got screwed up there. You don't just take 5 feet off a line, but we have to do it right.
Yep. And the way that it jogs, and I don't know if you guys all have a copy of this, David.
Yep. Everybody.
Yeah,
See that?
we got, there's just no doubt that
Mhm. And for it to be
Just
like.
don't jog
less than
into a building,
foot,
a property
It's less than a foot from the building,
but it's got to be done right.
There's a lot of things like that are done years ago without thinking.
Yep. And I'm just, if I get everything cleaned up so that I can get it out of the floodplain and make it beautiful and wonderful. And, I have the Art League wants to do some stuff. I want to put my unit in there along the river. And I mean, I can squeak by with just the building permit that I have now, but I can't change the roof lines. I can't change the roofing materials. I can only use existing holes. Otherwise, I'm using up that $53,000. And then it's just not going to be it. I can still make something livable, but it's not going to be nice. And it's not going to, it's not going to be as nice as what it could be. It's not going to work to its full potential.
Chad, is that land that's all included, all the city land is included in on that, even the stuff along the side of the building
For the
in
grant,
the grant? Or is it just for the trail easement?
the paperwork I found for the grant. So I believe I put this in your packet. So here's the information that talked about, the assigning mortgage,
Yeah.
blah, 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 with the Department of Natural Resources and Department of Interior. And then this was the, information with it I found, and it shows that jog, that whole parcel as part of that, tied to that grant.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So this is not 2 separate parcels. It appears to be one
Okay.
parcel that goes all the way to her property to Shawano Street.
Okay.
So I can see if it was 2 separate parcels, I could see maybe one of them not
That's-
being, we'd have to
That
reinvestigate.
was my question I was asking, was if it was 2 separate parcels, but if it's tied into one, well, then you'd have to.
Yep. I mean, even looking at the GIS, it's
Yeah,
It's not two separate parcels, it's one parcel.
one parcel, okay. So I don't know, I guess what I'm hearing is she should probably go back to Earl and find out what,
I think, asking those questions for the legal end of it, is next route. I don't think you guys have the authority right now just to assign it or
We
sell it or
can't, yeah,
whatever without
yeah,
knowing
yeah.
these questions.
we can't do anything not seeing it's been federal government's involved in it in the state.
But I think we can say verbally that
Hmm.
those conditions are met, but we're not going to violate anything from the state and federal government, that we wouldn't have a problem with doing that, right?
I think you can verbally say yes, that you'd be interested in that, just making sure that you're jumping through the correct hoops.
Yeah.
Or say, no, we're not interested, and it is what it is.
So
And
the-
then
so-
Cindy's gonna know one way or the other,
Times, right,
not
wasted.
at least for that aspect of it.
On that 5 feet, what is that retaining wall going to be?
That, that'll be a cement retaining wall. And that's all dictated by the DNR, how thick it needs to be and what kind of soil needs to get compacted in there and everything like that.
So the 5 feet of grass is going to become concrete.
No, it'll be,
About a foot around it, about a foot wall around it with a taper on the,
yeah,
Okay.
So in your packet, there was,
there'll be grass still, but it would be like a step up. It would be like,
Okay. And that won't be a problem with the plowing that.
I talked to Luke about that.
Easement
and
at all?
For us to maintain and, the access, we couldn't find a reason why we would need the grass area to continue operations as it is today. We can maintain it as is, just staying on the asphalt.
Okay.
There wasn't any reason that we had to have that unless you want to make the trail wider for whatever reason. But if you leave
Oh, I
the
just
trail as
wanted to
is,
make sure that we weren't doing something, to make it impossible for you guys to plow it. You'd have to get out and start shoveling or
correct.
whatever.
no, they said they need about 6 feet and there would still be
Yep.
more than that.
Jamie, you got something?
What would happen if that trail would ever have to be replaced?
I talked to Luke about that and it can be done. It's a tight area anyway, so you're not going to get a big piece of machinery in there anyway. So more than likely you would have to bring it in with skid.
Pavers that are 6 feet wide, you want a paver to pave that trail.
Mhm.
You don't want to do it by hand. So a 6 foot wide paver, you need at least 7, 8 feet still to get the machine in there.
And that's about what it is about 7 foot-ish,
Mhm.
give or take. It's tight. It would be tight.
It's definitely going to make an issue coming, and then who knows what you want to do with that piece 10 years down the road, whatever, something comes up.
The way it is now, there's a cement block back there that would make it impossible for them to get a paver in there anyhow unless they remove that and that, see that, all that?
Well, the way it is there, you can definitely rip that out and pave it.
Yeah, but you can't rip that out without my permission.
Well, they paved it before when that was there. 'cause
Yep,
that's
they
been
paved it
there
with
since
that
I
there.
was In junior
Mhm.
high. There was gas tank, there was
Yep.
all kinds of stuff back there.
Oh my gosh. Yep.
That was a long time ago, Johnny.
Oh, I remember the Wolf River Festival back behind that.
Because
building.
Jamie, I own the property. You guys have an easement.
Right.
You
So,
guys
but
don't own that
I'm
property.
assuming you still, with the easement, you still have to update the trail,
Carnival at the Legion parking lot.
and that would be part of your.
The easement gives us the, rights for maintenance,
Right.
whether it's snow plowing, whether it's repairs, whether it's replacement.
So with that said, our next step would be to talk to Earl to begin with, correct? That's where everybody's at to get legal
On that part, yep.
On the
advice.
And
on
that-
5 foot part, the second request is for reducing the easement. And we would have to figure out what the wording would be.
I see what you're saying.
But Cindy's proposal or request is asking.
I sent that over.
Retaining wall. And you can kind of see in this other, on her map that she provided, putting the retaining wall up to the existing trail.
And I sent that over to the title company and the title company attorney called me and he said, all that is a matter of changing that footage. He said, everything can stay the same, just that footage can change. And then it would just get re-recorded.
So I
Again,
don't
the
know.
wall is going right there, so it's gonna be, if I'm looking at that picture, right, that wall the retaining wall you want to put up is gonna be 5 feet away from your building on that corner. So that goes back to what Jamie said. There's only gonna be 6 feet from this, the left side corner, no, over here, another side check.
Over here?
Yeah, my left. So from the corner of your building, if you're all the way out to the grass to where our path is already, you're gonna be less than 6 feet.
That corner could come back some. That we just followed the lot line on. That corner could come back some.
What was there, like 5 feet of grass along there, I think it is, or 6 feet of grass from the pavement to the building?
I guess my question is, how close can a retaining wall be to your building that you want to
Well,
put in?
They won't tell me that because I could get it at any footage, but the planning and zoning just shot everything down saying that they wanted pictures and how it was going to be compacted and everything.
Well, that's what I'm trying, if that retaining wall can go closer to your building, that would
That
leave
would
us
be-
the room we need
Yeah.
to get.
That would be
machinery
fine
and
with me,
stuff.
but I'm still, I have to just get approval. If that needs to get changed, that needs to get changed, we can change that.
That retaining wall, the ordinance is 15 feet away from the building. She's trying to get a variance to get the wall closer than what the ordinance allows,
The ordinance or,
right? Is that?
A variance.
what
It's
is
not
the
an
ordinance?
it's the DNR, and the DNR already approved it.
oh, the
Waiting
15-foot
on
buffer. Got it. That's the
Yep.
DNR's thing. Yep.
Yep. Mhm. The DNR says 15 feet, and they already approved me to do less footage. And they said, just send it through city, and they're the ones who dictate, like, how thick that wall needs to be, what needs to be compacted in there. So I have to work with the DNR after I get the approvals for that stuff.
It actually looks like there's more room on the west side
There is,
than on the east side.
there
already.
is, yep.
Chad, is there anything that says how high the floor of that building has to be?
Yes.
Yeah.
They gotta
If you
pour,
wanna
they
get
gotta
out
pour,
of the
a fault- they
floodplain,
gotta
yes.
pour a fault floor inside of the building.
And that's where the retaining wall comes into play.
So the regulation is that the inside needs to be 2 foot above the 100-year mark. Outside needs to be 1 foot above the 100-year mark for a 15-foot zone around the building. And then the question or the issue is obviously getting a full 15-foot zone on her property around the building, which she can't. It's impossible. There's not enough clearance on either side of the building.
There is 15 feet on the other side of the building. On that side, there is 15 feet, but there's light pole and stuff, electrical stuff that,
They'll have
And that was
to move.
discussed that
No.
that was workable.
no,
So obviously, this committee is not worried about the
yeah.
15-foot
this is
mark.
not-
This
yeah,
committee is
that's stuff
considering,
That doesn't,
the two questions on the agenda were the 5-foot property swap, whatever you want to call it, and then the modification of the easement. So right now, what's
But we
on the
can't-
table is if the committee is willing to modify that easement.
Can't modify that easement if we don't know how far off that building that wall is, so you guys can maybe look at it. And it's something 5 to 10 years, we talk about repaving that. So,
I'm in a meeting.
you know what I mean? If we can't get that retaining wall so you can get a
Okay.
machine through there.
I don't know, what do we want to do? Do we want to
I don't believe you can.
wait till we get more information from, say, the state and the federal?
that doesn't have anything to do with modifying the easement. One doesn't have anything to do with the
But what
other.
he's saying though is if you
If
can't
you
get
approve
the-
one, you're looking at the other one because they're
Right.
both tied together.
I mean, I am all for making that building pretty, trust me.
It's
Yeah.
ugly.
I mean,
I
gotta
think,
make sure we do it
it can
right.
go on contingent that the state and federal part gets passed. I mean, if that gets passed, and I think both of them should be tied in together.
But they,
Either you do all or nothing.
it has to be tied together because you can't just do one and not do the other one.
I would like that easement reworded no matter what, because as of right now, that easement goes into my building. It goes from
Yeah.
13 feet from where Bob said you should measure for the meander line. Somebody, it
Yeah.
uses that whole back wall of my building and into my building. So when they did, and I mean, since the 1992, I don't think that's changed. I think they used a footage back then. And, you know, it just is what it is. They used a 15-foot thing. The Waters has 15 feet also. I know that their property is not as close, but I don't think people should,
well, their deck
I don't think I
actually-
should give, I don't think the easement should word what is potentially the inside of my building, what is factually the inside of my building.
Where is the meander line? Cindy? How is that?
Down, I don't know. Bob told me the meander he measured something from a meander line. He didn't locate the whole thing.
I don't know what thing, the meander line?
Yep.
To be official, you'd probably have to have a surveyor come in here and find that exact line, you know, if you really want to get that technical about it.
Yeah.
I mean, the reality is, even if it's 15 foot, we're not going to put the trail inside the building. I mean, that's not going to happen. There's never been a problem with that, you know? So, you know, I think like what they're talking about.
I know,
tying
but I don't
together-
want the trail to get modified and say I'm living down there and all of a sudden the trail gets widened and all of a sudden they make that wider and they come and stand right on my patio.
But that's the easement.
Yep.
That's the easement that's been granted,
Yeah.
that's tied to that property.
And that's why, that's
I mean,
part of why
The
I
easement
think
right
that,
now technically can put that trail right up to your property,
Yep.
up to the building,
yep.
you know, and that was agreed upon by the previous owner.
But I don't think the footage was looked at because when you look at what an easement is and what it does, that gives somebody the right to come honestly inside of my property, the way that it's worded right now. And that was not the intent of that easement.
Wasn't this looked into before you bought the building?
No, there's nothing. I've been looking into this for 4 months. I still don't have one answer.
My suggestion to that is if you want the modification on that part of the easement for them reasonings is to get that easement surveyed to find out what
I
exactly
already
it
have,
is.
I have had surveyors, I've had 3 surveys down there already.
How come we don't have that?
Yeah, I mean,
Chad has them.
just, so,
Yeah, but we don't have the actual survey of where the easement goes to where, because she's saying it's coming inside of her building.
there's an easement that talks about it. I don't think you've gotten.
I
the
haven't gotten
trail
a survey for the exact trail. No, Bob just told me where that is.
So no, the trail has not been surveyed to be exactly where it is.
And there was no survey when that was done either. Because Bob looked back through for that.
Personally, I don't ever see the city widening that trail because if you did that, you would have to take off part of the water's deck. Water's deck comes right up to the trail. Like, at least there's a grass buffer
Right.
here, you know, so I don't see there shouldn't be a big hangup about this other than the DNR and the federal government.
You can kind of see.
To me, we bend over backwards to help any business in town that's wanting to improve something. you
Yeah.
know.
That's why, that was what I'm saying, is I don't think we can move forward anything until we find out what the federal government or the state says about the easement.
This is square one. I can't go to the federal government or the state. She said, until I get this approval here that, yes, you guys are on board and I can move forward.
Well, I guess we have to know what our legal rights are violating the agreement that we made when we got the land.
We're talking, you're talking about two separate things.
Two separate issues.
I know, but it's still, these both still tie into together.
No, they don't have to tie in
They
together.
have to. You can't do anything in the back of the building if that's in the trail easement.
But I can square up the other side and get a variance.
But you still have to put that retaining wall in the back.
Exactly. But wording, that one does not dictate the other. If I get that 5 feet, I can square off on that side and then make a plan for right up against the building. If I get the rewording on the easement, I'll go with the plan that we have right now. I can change those things.
Kind of see what you're saying.
But one is gonna take a couple more months. The 5 feet thing is gonna take a couple of more months because we have to go through 2 state meetings.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, Bob, is we can either do it all as one, or like she's asking to do them separately. And
I
she's
can see this.
asking to continue the modification on the backside of the building to the easement,
Because
just
if
as
I-
one entity as its own.
If I get the 5 feet on that side, then I can go ahead and start getting stuff for those other meetings.
So I
If
guess-
get an approval here,
Number one question there is if the committee's in compliance or in agreement or not of granting the change in the easement.
So
no,
basically you're saying
That's the
item number
second.
3, we really can't do anything about, but item number 4, which is the back of the building.
Yes.
We can take action, we can do something about.
Right.
She's saying that would greatly help her solidify a more concrete plan, talk with those people, know what the heck she's
Correct.
talking about in those meetings, if you can luck out and get them,
Correct.
within a couple months. But so basically we have 2 items on the agenda. We're talking about them as one.
Yes.
Which makes sense, but we need to either decide if we're gonna just drop both of them and delay things even longer and make it harder to have a concrete plan put together, or we're gonna single one out.
Yes, I am
So
exactly saying the same thing you are. And with that said, like you said, the waters, theirs goes right up to that.
all the
Easement.
deck supports, yeah.
And it goes up right behind.
And their
Bait
deck
shop, too.
supports, and their
Yeah,
deck
right
supports
there.
are on your easement.
I mean, I am not,
Retaining wall could essentially be on your easement. They went ahead and did that with, maybe without even having an approval.
I mean, I'm really not opposed to modifying that easement in some way, shape, or form. We are snagged on the other corner of it, but
But if, at least if I have an approval from you guys on it, I can move forward with the rest of it. That needs to go to the state and to the federal.
I mean, the city is not, I don't think, out anything of changing that easement there. I mean, it's both working together on that one. What does everybody else think?
So
What do you want the easement to say?
I think you need
So
legal
what
opinion.
are we looking for? Are we,
I would just change the footage to come right up to that grass, or, let me put my retaining wall on the easement. It doesn't matter, you know what I mean? Either way, whatever will get done, that needs to get done.
Well, we need it in words and legal. We can't just do whatever. We gotta have it.
No, I mean, okay, so if we change the easement to show the footage that's used, which would be the back, the trail is 6 feet, that's 5 feet, and it's 13 feet all the way to the end of the top. So if it just said the back 10 feet, no, 9 feet, it would bring me right to the trail.
So you're asking for a 9-foot variance in the,
Instead of 15, it would be 9.
So we're looking for a motion to allow,
Bob, you got a question in the back if you'd like to take that?
Just something to think about. Cindy, I'm trying to make your life difficult. but-
You can make my life very difficult, Jamie.
But, say you do go ahead with this and word it as in how many feet or whatever, and the variance doesn't go with the landscape, you know, like maybe more.
You'll change
Then
it
are you gonna come
easily.
back and change it again to,
What would I need more for?
well, if they don't allow the landscape wall, then what is that?
If they don't allow the
Some
landscape wall, that building is gonna
Specific
look
measurements before
like
we,
it's gonna look and
Like
that's
any
kind of-
probably gonna
I
see
mean, right now it just says the
And
north
nothing's gonna
15
be-
feet.
any better than that. because
Hypothetically, could you
I'm
change that to
blocked
the
on
north
everything.
9 feet?
Right. And that, I understand, but then you're changing that then for nothing.
I mean, should we go out there and measure before we make a
You know what?
commitment
Yeah.
to,
You've left me no choice.
oh, how
Because
Because
how
I
we
think
want
it's
to word
about,
this?
I think it's
I have
about
to
Who's
keep
that
going
guy?
to
an
meetings.
8-foot-ish. Say this is
So
perfect.
I guess, you know, is,
The trail is about
You'll
8-ish.
change
are
it
you
easily.
relevant to this?
Is it easier to, like, for the easement to state that it goes to the back of her building and then allow her to put the retaining wall on the easement?
That would,
Or does
that
that
would do
make
the
us
exact same
responsible
thing.
for the retaining wall if it's on our easement?
I think you want to clean up the easement so it's not saying 15 foot, you know, and all of a sudden you got a retaining wall and then just,
Then we're in the same spot where she says we can come into her building.
No, not if you say the easement goes to the back of her building.
But then if there's a retaining wall there, people aren't gonna be apt to climb up there to my building.
But I'm just asking, because I don't know the difference. So
Yeah.
I don't know if it's easier
Either-
for the easement to say it goes to the back of her building and then allow her to put the retaining wall on the easement. But does that make us responsible for the retaining wall because it's technically on city property?
And Cindy,
not a city property, it's her property.
Yeah.
It's my
Just within the
property.
city's
Okay.
easement.
None of this is city property. This
Oh,
is my
except that 5
property.
feet.
Yes. Yes. I would think in Cindy's shoes, you know, she would want to say 9 foot. Because
Mhm.
hypothetically, if it says 15 foot and in 30 years, we're all not around
Yep,
and new council members are here, the council could say, get that retaining wall off of that because we want to make the trail 15 feet,
yes,
Okay.
hypothetically.
All right, I'm
yeah,
just
I
asking.
definitely agree.
Makes sense?
so
and
what,
the easement can even be worded with that retaining wall in it so that that never happens. You know what I mean?
Well, I think if we just reworded that easement of that, then it's just like
Which
you,
would be
there's no,
perfect.
because then when, in the future, when people are going there sitting on it and having a picnic while they're fishing and drinking a beer
Yep,
and playing their music,
Yep.
now they're on your property and not the easement.
yep.
I would think if the committee is entertaining the point of shortening the easement up to the current pavement, we can go to Earl with this one too and say, okay, the intent is to shorten it up to the pavement. Earl, what do you think the best way to word that? Whether we survey it, whether we just say 9 foot, whether we, you know, however that is. So I think just in the conceptual form, is the committee interested in modifying the easement to put the retaining wall up to the current trail?
I'll make that motion to modify the trail easement from 15 to 9 feet. But as you said,
You want to say 9 foot, or do you just want to say
Up to
modify
the-
it and then we'll figure that out on the legal side of it with Earl?
Pending with pearls.
right,
Or pending Earl's
pending legal review.
verbiage.
Yeah.
Second.
You had a question, Bob.
Mike,
Is easement different than right of way, say road right of way? Because if anything is built in the road right of way,
Yes, an easement
The
is
city,
different
but-
than
can I talk, please? I thought I had the floor. Isn't it true that if somebody puts something on the right of way, the city is responsible if somebody gets hurt or causes an accident? Is easement land different?
Yes. So a road right away, consider the city owning that property. It's the city's road right away. It's a government right away. Whereas an easement, like in this case, Cindy owns that entire property. We have an easement to build a trail and maintain a trail and have the public access to that trail. So in this case, the city doesn't own anything. She owns it, but we have the maintenance responsibilities. We have the insurance responsibilities for that. Cindy would also be, and all the other property owners would also be immune to liability because of recreational immunity. Wisconsin has a very strong recreational immunity, just like snowmobiles going across farm fields and stuff like that. So the courts have been very strong in granting recreational immunity as for the property owners for recreational access,
All right.
especially when it's free. Now, when it's a paid recreational aspect, like you're going to a dirt bike race and you're paying a spectator's fee, that gets to be a little bit different when you're paying something. But if it's something that's recreational, like a boat or walking trail, recreational immunity is very strong for the property owners and the city. I mean, on the city's land, having a trail, if someone gets hurt, we have a very strong recreational immunity protection from the state.
Okay.
Okay, so you want to word your,
You have a motion and a
Yeah,
second on
I
it.
just said he wants to reword so we all understand exactly what's being said.
Gee, Bob, what I said earlier,
To amend the,
I think it was.
you want
I
to
would
amend the
make a
agenda,
Motion to
change the easement to 9 feet?
recommend changing the trail easement. Whether we didn't.
So
have it
you're-
on 9
Pen-
feet, we
Pending,
went
pending Earl Waters,
legal review, but I think I should, was it up to the trail, right?
if that's what you're interested in,
That would be essentially 9 feet.
if that's what it is, you know, whether it's 8 foot or 9 foot, we'd have to go measure that exactly.
Do you have to have a foot, or can you say at the end of the existing trail? I mean, wouldn't that be easier? Because I think that line's gonna go this way in that trail, you know what I mean?
And Earl might want something that's a little bit more concrete, because if that trail ever modifies, you don't want to say end of the existing trail, because in 20 years, the trail might be different, and now what's, you know,
So basically
She needs 9 feet, right?
to authorize Earl to review this for changing that easement to, whether you say up
accommodate
to
the retaining wall.
to accommodate the retaining wall. So it's either A, 9 feet, or B, right up to the trail. So
Michelle, did you get that?
Who, yeah, I did. Who second though? Dennis, okay, thank you.
so does everybody understand it now?
Yep.
You all in favor?
All right.
I,
Opposed? Motion carried.
And that's a recommendation going to city council. So that doesn't stop here, it goes to the
That's
council.
what I was just gonna ask.
That one goes to city council. I thought you said the 5-foot one goes to city council and this one was just at Park and
Nope.
Rec.
everything this committee
Everything
does.
goes to
Okay.
council for the
City
most part.
council.
Okay,
So
then-
essentially, we changed, we said we're
Yep.
in agreement to looking at,
So what do
Changing it
I
from
need to
15.
get then for the other issue, for the 5-foot issue?
We're gonna have to talk to Earl, show him this and see what he says,
Okay,
you know, see what his recommendation
but
is.
it is the consensus here that if we can get those other things in
Yep.
line, that would not be a problem to clean that up.
Well, yeah.
No.
Okay.
Depending on,
you gotta have those meetings with the state and
Yep.
and whatever Department of Interior.
Chad, do I need the approval here before I go to city council and then to
Oh,
the
yeah.
state
Yeah.
and then to federal?
Well, we're gonna go to Earl, we're gonna get his recommendation on what he thinks of how to proceed with that, whether it's sending, you know, a request from the city, we'll get his recommendation on how to do that, because that's from 1992. That's
Okay.
a long time
So
ago.
I'm just asking because I don't want to have to wait a month to come back to this meeting before I can go to city council with it and then to the next, to the state and federal. You know what I
Well,
mean?
the city council will be next Tuesday.
So,
next Tuesday.
Our committee,
Yeah, that-
council, you don't have to.
I don't have to?
This will go to council next Tuesday.
Okay.
Our committee.
well, the trail easement's going. to
Trail
council
easement,
next
that's
Tuesday.
the one I'm talking,
I'm
with the
trying to
motion
think-
we just
I'm
made.
trying to think the timing for the first issue with the 5-foot thing. Because we're gonna go to Earl, he's gonna kind of make a recommendation on how to proceed with that, in his opinion.
I think we still need a recommendation from from this committee
On
Whether
the
to
5 foot
proceed.
thing.
that.
to proceed or not to proceed.
On the 5 foot thing to get that squared off the way.
Or are we just gonna get his input and bring it back to the next meeting, which is
Right.
gonna take another month?
Right.
That's what I'm trying to save, having to wait a month between every single thing.
I think we're all in agreement that if the state and the federal government's okay with us reassigning that land or whatever they want to call it, that it's fine. I mean,
This committee made a resolutions to the council. So now the council approves it, then you can proceed.
No, no, this is-
That's on the trail easement.
Yeah, this is the second part of that.
Okay.
I mean, so.
So this would be,
Go ahead, Fred, make the motion.
I mean, you're gonna beat this horse to death for a couple of hours now.
you need,
End up with nothing.
if you, do you need a motion? I mean,
You need a motion out of that
so you would need a motion to authorize city attorney to
Send the
offer an opinion
Why don't somebody do
on the
that?
land
Why
transfer,
doesn't somebody do that?
right? This is the land
I'm not on
transfer.
the committee, so I can't make it.
Me neither.
Dennis, are you on the committee?
So what I'm looking at is you need a recommendation to move along with the process of this 5 foot section.
To be one of 4.
And that process starts with talking to Earl what that is. And then that gives everybody down the line able to start taking them steps to start that process. But I think that you guys need to grant that start of that process first.
Yeah.
Then that gives everybody else motion to go without having to come back to committee until time needed, which I think that would be the state one.
Why don't you make the motion, if you guys are interested in going that route, make the motion to authorize staff and the city attorney to petition to the Department of Natural Resources and the Department of Interior to modify the deed, modify the grant. Trying to think how we want to do this, but you're authorizing staff and the city attorney to follow through with a petition to those organizations to modify the deed on the property to allow the city to sell or obtain, or however we want to word that, transfer that portion of property to the neighboring property owner.
I'll make that motion.
You get that written down?
And a second?
Second.
John, was that you?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And that recommendation is going to council, because I think if you're going to modify the easement, the council should
Both of these got to go to
vote for
council.
that. And then we're not going to follow through with any petitions until the council blesses that as well.
Next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday.
Tuesday, yeah.
Can I attend that one via Zoom? I'm going to be gone.
I don't have council meetings set up via Zoom
You don't.
because we have that, we do still do that the old fashioned way on the cable access channel.
Should I send my attorney? What should I do? Because I'm in Florida for the next 2 weeks. I leave Saturday.
I mean, you got most of the council members right here. I mean, you got a majority
Yeah, or,
right here, so.
you know, if you have
7 out of 10
something,
are here.
if you have something written, somebody can read it for you, or, you know,
I mean, really,
have-
that's on you. If you want representation here, then you should have somebody here.
In case one of the other council members would have a
Yeah,
question.
that's,
Okay.
if you feel that necessary, then that's something that you should do.
Okay.
and this meeting's recorded on YouTube, so if your attorney wanted to catch up and fill himself in on whatever, he can go to the city's website and watch this discussion.
Okay.
And it'll get up to speed of what he would be.
Okay.
But we didn't take a vote on that motion yet, so. So it was,
No, we voted on it.
there was.
We voted on that motion. didn't
There was
we?
no
Yeah, we
vote.
voted
There was a
on it.
motion, a
made,
second, and no
and then
vote.
I
Yeah.
se- I seconded
Please.
it, and then we didn't do a,
Now you just did discussion, so
Oh, yeah,
Call the
okay,
vote.
okay. All in favor?
aye.
All right.
Opposed? Motion carried. Well, that should take care of that one. Director's report.
Wish you luck.
All right.
Thank you, Cindy.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Two quick things. Years of service report. Robin Van Duser, our park gardener and lifeguard, has completed 7 years of service on December 5th. Lori Schneider completed 2 years of service on December 26th. I can't believe Lori's been here 2 years already.
I know.
That's crazy. But we want to congratulate them on their anniversaries. Michelle sent out the department statistics and financial usage via email. I'm not going to go through all the notable type things. The only other thing I don't have in here that's just come up recently after I put this out, and this is a urban forestry thing for the committee. I've had a complaint of a sewer problem at I think it's a Mirage. Is that that business?
Yeah.
At I think it's at 510 here. They've got a sanitary sewer issue, and you can see there's a street tree right there, and they've had to have it basically bored out several times, supposedly in the last year, because of that street tree. And they wanted to know what the city was going to do about it because our street tree was, plugging up their sanitary sewer. It gets to be a tough issue because number one is that the trees problem, or because their sanitary lateral is not sealed and compliant because it's a clay tile, so it's not a sealed scenario. Obviously, tree roots are going to find that because it's not a sealed pipe. So one of the things we're looking at is maybe removing that tree at this point in time. All the trees in the downtown more than likely will be coming out for the downtown project in 2024. So, that I'm not as concerned with that because we're probably going to be taking those trees out anyway. I'll just kind of give you a glimpse of that tree right off the bat.
Not a very big tree anyway.
It's
Foot
bigger than what I thought it was when I looked at it. It's
Yeah,
taller
it's
than the
only
building.
about a foot across.
So that's getting to be a big tree for that sidewalk anyway,
Too big.
So,
Didn't plant the trees on Main Street anyway.
well, I mean, they should be like this.
Yeah, little trees.
Yeah, right.
You're putting, I don't even know
Little
if
ones
this,
that look pretty.
Looks
Just
like
like
an
maple.
ash.
it might be, if it's an ash, it's even better, but I don't think it's an ash.
Oh, that's that locust,
Yeah,
the locust.
so that's a bigger tree than what should be there anyway. So more than likely, we're gonna take that one out, just so you guys know. Kind of go from there, so.
Looks like a warm, rainy day.
Got nothing
That
for,
was in 2018.
got nothing for the chairman's report. Committee members, anybody got anything?
Well, happy National Bird Day, everyone.
Oh, thanks, Johnny. Ah,
I would be remiss to not mention that since we're a Bird City, USA.
Did talk
Today
about that earlier today too, yeah.
is National Bird Day.
Future agenda items.
I will touch base on the bike trail, or the bike thing that's south of Floral Hill. I have a meeting set up with Bob. Are you available to make that?
Yeah.
So next Tuesday, Bob, I think Jamie's coming to that. Rob Way from the Cemetery Commission and the mayor. We're gonna get together with a group with the, I forgot their names now. The family that was here last month.
Yeah.
Because they have that proposal about putting bike trails behind Floral Hill there. So I thought, let's just get together, start talking about it internally first as a group. And then whatever comes out of that, if there's a recommendation that's got to come to this committee, so be it. But I thought just to kind of start that conversation would be ideal. So if that's okay with everyone, that's kind of the route I'm going to take with that. I didn't want to make it a committee meeting and then have an agenda put out and stuff like that. So I thought one person from Parks and Rec, one person from Cemetery Commission, and then the mayor, and then Jamie will be there too, just to start off.
Next Thursday.
Next Thursday,
That's
4
what it was
o'clock,
on my
you said?
calendar.
4:30?
Look at my calendar here quick.
At 4 or 4:30, one of the two.
Something
And
like
next
that.
Thursday at 4:30.
Yeah, 4:30. So it's not a committee meeting by any means, but just kind of internal to kind of get the conversation going and see what their proposal is and see if it's gonna work. See what all the concerns are. Go from there.
What about the boat launch docks?
Yeah, Luke and I gotta get together. We haven't had time yet. Everything's crazy. Just to put a better plan. He's got some information, what it would cost to replace the boat docks. We've got a pretty healthy boat launch fund building up that we can start making some improvements down there. So once we kind of get our game plan, we'll bring a proposal to the committee to kind of talk about and say, here, we would propose to replace these boat launch docks and take the funds out of the boat launch fund for those improvements. So not quite there yet, haven't had time, but I just got it in that category of future agenda items so I don't forget it.
All right. Anybody got anything else? Look for a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Adjourned.